Hello again, folks. This is again Professor Rahal. In this recording, I'll be going over the solution to the TipCalculator program, which was due. Your submission was due on Friday, and I'm going to go over it now. So here we're given that we have a certain bill that the user is going to input, and we want to display that bill back to the user with a $sign and 2 decimal places. So of course, if the user is going to enter the bill, then we're going to have to use an input function over here. Enter your bill amount. For example, you can have a different prompt. Excuse me. And since the number input by the user is going to be a number, and in this case, we expect to have decimal places, so we're going to say float of the input. And then over here, I'm going to display whatever the user has entered. It's going to be 0.2f, meaning that 2 decimal places. And I also want to show a $sign in my output. And then the variable that I'm displaying would be the actual bill. So let's run that. Enter amount. Let's say I enter $37.17. It's going to tell me you owe $37.17 for your bill. The next part is you want to calculate a 15% tip on the user's bill. So I'm going to uncomment this line, and I want to make sure that the tip is based on the actual bill. So whatever the bill the user entered, if I multiply that by 15%, and in math, that means multiply it by 0.15 or 0.15, that would give me the actual tip portion. And then if I were to display that to the user, again, I'm going to do something like before 0.2f over here. That would be my the tip value. So a 15% tip would be, and then display the tip variable to 2 decimal places, and then proceeded with a $sign. Okay, let's see here for the same example, 37.17 is saying that the tip is 5.58. I'm not 100% sure, but you could actually use the shell part here as a calculator. You could tell it, okay, what is 37.17 times 0.15? Okay, it's 5.58, roughly speaking, which is exactly what we got. So the answer is correct. Third part asks us to display the tip added to the bill, so the total. A 15% tip would be, here is where the tip is going to go, and for a total of, and here's where we're going to put the total, 2f over here. And we've got 2 variables that we need to display. The first one is the tip, and the second one is the tip plus the bill. Okay, so add them up together, and then display the value. We could do it like this. We could put the row operation over here, or we could have a variable that contains the value and then use the variable instead. So I'll show it to you both ways. 37.17. So now if you add 558 to 317, you'll get 42.75, which is correct. Again, the other option would be, say, total is equal to the tip plus the bill, and then display total. Yeah, it looks a bit more simplistic. If you do it like this, and creating variables is free, so it really doesn't matter which way you do it. I prefer simplicity. I prefer the way you see it over here. Here is the variable that we have, 37. The tip is 5 point something, and the total is that. The last part, not the last part, part 4, we're going to ask the user how many ways they want to split it. So let's see, over here, it's going to be input from the user. how many ways to split the bill. Okay, and then the user will enter something. And then whatever the user enters, I'm going to use that. I'm going to display that over here. So this would be the value of variable split ways, and this will show how much every person would owe. So that would be the amount, the total divided by how many ways we're splitting. So dot format, and then the first one would be split ways. Split ways, that would go over here. And the total will be the second variable, but then I'm gonna divide that by split ways. So this shows me how much every person is going to pay to accumulate the total that we have. So take the total divided by split ways, and then that would be what we're after. So I'm gonna enter $100 now just for simplicity. My tip would be $15, so the total would be 115. And then if I say how many ways to split the bill, if I say one way, let's see, oh yeah, I forgot to do something important, which is split ways was entered. If you notice it, one, but it's a string one. I forgot to convert that to a number. I apologize for that. Make it into an integer. And then we'll repeat the operation. Okay, so now if I split 115 over one person, it's 115. If I do it, if I split it in two, then every person will own 57.50 cents times two. That'll give you the total of 115. Do three ways. Okay, and so on and so forth. For part number 5, assume we're just looking at the bill because I wasn't clear enough here that if you want to use the total, the tip plus bill, or just the bill. So assuming we're just using the bill, and I noticed there's a typo here. If the total was 37.17, to round up to 38, not 34.17. Again, I apologize for that. So there are a couple of ways we can definitely do this. The first and the easiest part would be basically we need to get access to this decimal part over here. Once I get access to that decimal part, then all I have to do, suppose I figured out it's 17, subtract 17 from 100, and then I know that the remaining round up value cents would be 83 cents. So to get that part, there are two ways. Here I ask you to think about using the remainder. So you can say the cents only part of the bill, cents only part of bill. That would be if you take the bill and you subtract from it the integer part of the bill. Remember, integer, if you give it a decimal number, it'll chop off the decimal value, so that way you're able to access the integer part, and then if you subtract that from bill, you get the decimal part. So in this case, bill will be 37.17, and integer bill will be 37. So if you subtract those, you'll get the 0.17. So now I know that I've got 17 cents, which means the roundup that I'm going to be doing is $1 or 100 cents minus the cents only part of the bill, which would be 0.83. So let's see if so far, if we're going to get the right answers. 37, 17, two ways. Okay. Based on the math over here, the cents only part, notice how it figured there's 17 cents. And when I did the roundup, it also realized that I'm talking about 83 cents. Now you notice the numbers are not exactly what we expect them. That's because in computers, there's always precision errors. There are always estimations. You cannot store infinitely many numbers in a limited amount of memory. So that's why you see a bit of rounding errors, but that should not be a problem for us because we can just display them rounded the way we like. So if you round up for charity, the new total would be over here. We're going to have 0.2f again. And that would be the new total. And then this would be the actual roundup value, 0.2f. Dot format. Okay. And the first one would be the new total. That would be the bill plus the roundup. That would give me the new total. Because that's how much I'm adding to the bill for the roundup, and then the roundup alone would be that number displayed over here. And then I should close this. Let's run it. 3717 2. Yeah, so it said if you round up for charity, the new total is $38, including 83 cents for charity, which is exactly what we expected over here. Now, in here, I actually gave you a hint to use remainder for division, so it's really not completely different. So I could do it like this, or I can, if I take my original value for the bill and do division by 1, that basically, if you divide any number by 1, you should get 0, except if that number contains decimal places, you get the decimal place value back. So 37.17, the remainder of division by 1 will be everything after the decimal place. So that should be exactly the same, or should give us exactly the same answer. 2. And if you round up for charity, the new total is 38 cents, including 0.83 for charity. That should be all for this problem as well. I hope you can join me tomorrow during class to ask me questions about this or anything else. Thank you much.